is what we really should be doing.
John, energy executives have always told me in the past, we're in the business of producing energy. We don't really care what that is, whether it's oil or not. We want to be there to deliver it. Is that true? And if that's the case, are they really investing as if that's true?
Some of the companies are investing in far-flung ideas. Exxon has a big project on algae. When I was at Shell, we had big projects, they still do, on solar and wind and hydrogen and biofuels, a wide range. But really the core problem here is we have politicized energy. We have made politics and energy incompatible bed partners. We've got to get politics out of energy. Part of the problem here is we never come up with solutions because every time the administration changes or the majority in Congress changes, we change what we're working on. And you can't do that with energy. You need long-time committed time horizons that go past administrations and past different majority parties. And if we get the politics out of energy, we could go a lot further, faster, over time.
It's easy to blame politics, but one thing, and forgive me if this sounds like a mean question, but I think people out in the audience kind of think of big oil companies like tobacco. At the end of the day, they're pushing one product, and that's what they're really all about.
Well, there's some of that for some of the companies because that's all they want to do. But let's be clear, there are a lot of companies. None of the oil companies are the same as each other. They're all different. And when I use the term politics and energy, I mean, it's either the no more coal crowd or the drill baby drill crowd. And in my book, I talk about beware the reckless right and the ludicrous left, because we really have divided the nation over so-called good energy and bad energy when we need all energy.
Tom, go ahead.
I think John's made a very good point here, and he makes it in his book, that we've got a 2 to 4 year cycle for the decision makers in politics and in policy makers in our government. We've got a 10-year, 5, 10, 15-year, depending on the project cycle, for being effective in developing new energy sources. And we've got to somehow, as a society, come together and reconcile that, because the politicization is deadly toward effectiveness.
Exactly. Doesn't that just mean that you can't count on Washington to do it, that it has to make economic sense in order for it to carry over time, and we need private businesses to be doing this innovation?
But
which brings me back to why aren't they doing it?
Washington does need to set the stage for the incentivization of doing this, and part of the reason is that the current energy industry is so big and so good at what they do that it's very inexpensive at the scale. So if you want to substitute what we do today with something new, then you've got to be really good with that substitute and really cheap. So if there's an incentive to start developing it proactively so that it's ready when we need it, then we're going to have our choices in place. If we start picking winners, saying we have to do this, mandate things, politicize it, then we get into trouble.
Pick winners too. Let me ask you a question about, earlier we showed you that Canadian oil sand that Michelle brought out for us. It came with a warning. I want to read that. Inhalation may cause eye and respiratory problems, irritation of skin, prolonged contact may actually cause an increased possibility of skin cancer. I mean, this thing came with gloves and goggles and all kinds of warnings for us. It makes me worry about the people in the Gulf and what the long-term fallout from this spill is going to be, not unlike 9/11. Ian.
Oh, absolutely. The people are concerned about dispersants, but the volatile organic carbon coming off of this oil spill is lethal in and of itself. And much of what's been going on out there has been concerned with, much of the dispersant use has been concerned with suppressing the release of VOCs off of this oil to make it safe for the workers to be there. So, we're dealing with toxic compounds, and in the Gulf, we're dealing with toxic compounds that are going to be part of the environment for a long time. And those costs are not reckoned into this calculation, and they need to be. This needs to be the galvanizing moment for America when we decide at a level of consumers, municipalities, states, that this is it. We're going to change. We're going to have a different transportation system. We're going to invest what we have to invest to move toward the future.
You're out there doing an M&A. You're in the investment community. Is there more investment right now as a result of this BP accident?
There's a reallocation of capital going on. Because of the moratorium, there's a real question of where the companies spend their budget. It's coming more onshore. It's going more to the gas and liquids-rich gas. It's going into things like the Bakken development. Those kinds of projects rise up in priority by virtue of this. Unfortunately, the resource potential of the deep water swamps the aggregate potential of the items I've mentioned, even though individually, for individual companies, they're significant.
We're going to leave it there. Up next, Truth and Consequence. Our all-star panel is set to tell us where we'll be in our fight to end the black coal stranglehold in 10 years and even 20 years from now. This is a CNBC special report, America's Crude Reality. We'll be right back.